In this video, we're going to evaluate two different options for data visualization, and that's Grafana and Kibana. So we're going to start here in Grafana, and this is open source software. You can go and find this on GitHub, and it comes in two different flavors. It comes in either self-hosted or cloud-hosted. There's a Grafana cloud that you can set up and integrate with your data sources. I'm using the locally hosted version here. And to set up a new data source, I'm going to go here to the left-hand side and click on the hamburger icon. Then I'm going to go under Connections and add a new connection. And I've got a number of different options here to choose from. Now, depending on what you're trying to integrate with and what you're trying to visualize, there might be a connection here for you. Let me go ahead and just start by searching for CloudWatch, which is the AWS log collection tool. So there's CloudWatch. If I go ahead and select this, then it's going to give me a little bit of detail on it and give me the option in the top right here to add this as a new data source. And then once I do that, I will be prompted to fill out a few fields here in order to authenticate and connect to CloudWatch. And then I've got a few sample dashboards here as well that I can choose from once I do. Now, I'm not going to set this up because I've already got a couple of data sources here. I've got a Grafana PostgreSQL data source, which I have connected to a locally hosted PostgreSQL server. And then I have a Grafana test data source here. So let me go ahead and click on the test data source first. And I can see this is just a bunch of example data that Grafana has provided. If I click on the dashboard here, this is not real data. It's just coming in as a sample to show you some of the visualizations that you can make using Grafana. But if I wanted to look at some real data, I'll go back to data sources and I'll look at my Grafana PostgreSQL data source. And this is actually going to give me a couple of options in order to connect it. But then if I go to explore data here, this is where I actually get to put the data together. Since it's already connected and I've already linked it to a table in my Postgres database, I can go ahead and select the table that I want. In this case, it's the Lego dataset, and then pick the columns that I want to display. And then when I run that query, it's going to display this. And depending on the types of data that I choose, I'll have more visualization options. I've already set one of these up. I'm going to go back here to the hamburger menu. I'm going to go under Dashboards, and I'm going to click on Lego Themes. And this is a query for this database. And I can see this if I go under Edit. It's giving me the option here to either use this builder, which I'm not going to use because I've already done this as a SQL query. And then I can also just run this as a SQL query. So this is one of the strengths of Grafana, is if your data is in a SQL database, then Grafana is going to try and parse that in SQL. So with that in mind, let's pause the video here, and I'm going to switch over to the other data visualization tool we have, which is Kibana. So I'm over here in Kibana. This is similar to Grafana in the sense that there is a self-hosted and a cloud-hosted option. In my case, I'm also using the self-hosted option for this. And similar to Grafana, there are a number of different integrations that you can choose. I'm going to go ahead and click on Add Integrations here. And you see I've got a number of different options here. I'm going to go ahead and just search for the last one I did, which was CloudWatch. And same integration here. I can go ahead and add the CloudWatch integration to Kibana. And it will give me tools and a couple of authentication parameters I need to do that as well. So I'm not going to do that here, but I am going to look through some of the other integrations. I mentioned PostgreSQL in the previous video. So let me go ahead and search for Postgres here. So I see PostgreSQL. I'm actually going to go ahead and click out of this, and I can also go over here and find it in databases and by scrolling down to Postgres. So you see there are actually two different options here. There's the PostgreSQL and PostgreSQL with Elastic Agent. So one of the biggest differences between Kibana and Grafana is while Grafana is built around SQL queries and being able to query your data with SQL, Kibana actually uses JSON. Everything is stored as a JSON array. Actually, if you are all familiar with the ELK stack, ELK stack, that stands for Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kibana. So those are three tools that work very well together. And the K in there is Kibana, obviously, but it's built to query Elasticsearch and visualize data from there. And to connect it to a Postgres database, you have to add a layer in between in order to synchronize your data from PostgreSQL to Elasticsearch. And you see when I click on the Postgres integration here, it's asking me to create an Elasticsearch index for my PostgreSQL data. Now, I don't want to do that, so I'll go ahead and click back and then go back down to Postgres and add this with the Elastic agent here. And what this is going to ask me to do is it's going to ask me to input my database credentials here. So scroll down a little bit, and it's assuming that my Postgres is running on the same instance here, which it's not. So I'll go ahead and change this over to my Postgres server. And then under Advanced, I'll fill out my username and password. Now when I save and continue, it's going to ask me to add an Elastic agent that will connect to my PostgreSQL database and then send that to Elasticsearch so that I can query it. I'm not going to do that in this case because I've already got a demo integration set up here. And to view it, I'm going to go back to the home page, and then I'll open up the hamburger icon and go to Dashboards. Now this is already added in some of the dashboards from my integrations here, but I actually added one earlier before this demo for the global flight dashboard. Now this is all mock data, but I can go ahead and display this data here. It's pretty similar to some of the graphs that you can build with Grafana, but again, these are coming from an Elasticsearch index instead of a PostgreSQL database. So that's it for this video. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.